has been countless times of spiritual advice, biblical direction, financial assistance throughout the years assisting our one spiritual son. For a very long time, he had been homeless. And this is something we had spoken with him, and initially even getting to know him that, hey, you being a man of God, what is it that you are praying? What is it that you are believing? However, every time I prayed for this man of God, things happen, doors open. I don't even question as to how and why this relationship fell apart. As I stated to you before, once he slept with this apostle, the spirit of Ahab had come over him, and he too now is blinded, that he is unable to see the consequences for his actions. When we spoke with our one spiritual son on the phone, he definitely tried to keep the relationship and what he had with us. However, we made mention to him that how are you able to maintain a relationship with us when your wife does not even want to have any dealings with me? Just being up close and personal with him, there was so much usury, so much exploitation going around. I realized that he too is a part of the problem. Immediately after marrying this apostle, the countenance of my one spiritual son changed. He had already started to experience disrespect, disregarded. She caused shame and humiliation, berating and belittling him like a narcissist would. At this point in time, it was days within their marriage where this apostle was already isolating him, telling him not to touch her, telling him that when she get back to America that she's not going to wear his ring, that the marriage wasn't real. As I had stated to you before, God had already had me ministering to this apostle about the sexual behaviors in her relationship while not being married. As you can recall, the Lord had told me to tell this apostle not to fumble. My spiritual son would be walking around in gloom and hungry. He had a falling out with the spiritual daughter because he assumed that the food that was left pretty much garbage. It was pretty much done with. So he proceeded to eat the food. Well, there was an altercation there. Here's the thing. The apostle who married my one spiritual son knew that he was homeless, knew that he didn't have any money or means for anything. This apostle, after marrying him, did not even look out for his well-being. She was not feeding him. He was walking around hungry. Who was there to assist him? My spiritual daughter and I. When this apostle had come to Ghana, she hadn't packed anything in her bag outside of those rings. It was no form of love whatsoever. This was a booty call. She could have continued to get booty where she was, right in Georgia, versus traveling thousands of miles and spending thousands of dollars to sleep with this man and to cause his whole world to be in flames while she head back to the U.S. and act as if this situation had never happened. Now, the apostle who he married didn't want him no longer having any dealings with me, but she had the audacity to say to him, why don't you ask your spiritual mother for financial assistance? As I stated before, neither did this apostle nor my homeless one spiritual son think about what his living arrangements was going to be once they said I do. They had only thought up until the point as to when they get there, they were going to be intimate. However, this was not a concern of him. It was already set up in his mind that my spiritual mom is going to be here and she will help me. What is your wife doing? How is she contributing to the care of you at this point? Now, after he had spoken with the pastor from the airport, this pastor had told him that he needed to stick it through. Why would you have this man of God to stick it through, knowing that what this woman had said was not right? She had lied to him and told him that she had wanted to have more children, but then after they were married, told him that she didn't want to have any children, and then tried to give the excuse, not right now. At this point in time, he's devastated. However, once the pastor had told him to go ahead and try to stick it through, he made up in his mind that he's going to take this advice Let me tell you, he took on this advice is because there is an ulterior motive from this pastor in being able to stay connected to someone from the U.S. My one spiritual son did not stand his ground in trying to maintain relationship with me and respectfully be married to his wife by at least going to her saying, hey, this is my spiritual mother. We're going to have to come to some grounds as to how we can all get along. That he even lost his voice. And I don't mean literally. I meant lost his voice as a man speaking up for himself. I had paid for my spiritual son's airport ticket to and from Accra. When we were loading up in the car at the hotel, my one spiritual son comes to me, Mommy, this is what the bill is for the room. Number one, I had reached the capacity of not giving anymore. I really started to feel a certain type of way. So I knew that my level of giving was over. Not only that, do you recall when I told you that I had reserved standard rooms for everybody else? The apostle had upgraded her room. So the balance due was due to the upgrade. I suppose that, why are you guys coming to me with that? And so I told him, I said, you need to get it from your wife. And I said another thing. I paid for your wedding and everything, and I didn't even get a thank you. Then she says, oh, so I didn't know. And I said to myself, why is it that you didn't know? Then she dishes out this nasty thank you. Well, thank you. I told her, I said, you didn't bother to offer. I said, you didn't see the times when we were going out to eat that I didn't buy myself anything because I had spent my money on your wedding, on meals and gas. I said, you are disrespectful as an apostle. I said, but you come all the way here to Ghana with your filthy, nasty self and fornicate. I was just appalled. Number one, she never contributed to her wedding. Number two, feeding her husband. So when I think about my one spiritual son and the apostle and who he married and the pastor, you guys all get along well. And now she believes that she is called to Ghana. Right. My one spiritual son stated to me that she is not prepared. She is not ready for ministry as an apostle, and that even when it comes to her teaching, that there is a lot of growth necessary. And he too was trying to get her to submit to the ministry. And this is where the ignorance of my one spiritual son, King James, who failed to listen to his spiritual parents to be in a situation like this. Number one, spiritual advice was given for him to be able to recognize and discern what's what. Red flags were given. However, he still proceeded to move through this relationship by fornicating and then marrying this apostle, knowing that she didn't have a care nor concern for him, because prior to even being married, she was already disrespecting him and disrespecting his culture. Sad but true, this apostle had the audacity to tell King James that his mother didn't need to be there. His sister didn't need to be there. And the people that were coming, that they could just come and go. How disrespectful. As a married man in Ghana and a pastor, you are looked at as highly. So now you have this man of God who is now married, which is in secret, still homeless. So of course, now that this Ghana series has gone out, they are going to do everything in their power to try and make this marriage work. As we got to the airport, I stood there and I waited to tell him goodbye. I proceeded to go in and give him a hug, and he acting all timid and scared. She snatches him away and say, what did I tell you? Didn't I tell you not to have conversation with people who disrespect me? She called us stupid. And I said, yeah, I called you guys both stupid and filthy, because by this time I had already given my one spiritual son the text message. My final words to my one spiritual son was this: hello, King James. So that we are clear, I am not upset or mad at you. Disappointed? Yes. For the record, please do not tell people that I presented you with Bridget as your wife. I did no such thing. Never once would I want you to marry a woman who needs a total deliverance, is a Jezebel, lacks integrity, lacks knowledge and wisdom, denies truth, is disrespectful, dishonors you and your family, undermines your authority, and hide you from her family. Nor did she or you consider the cost of marriage and what your life would be like after marriage and when she left. I said that was stupid on both of you. I said your marriage was driven by sex. I gave you all the information about her to make an informed decision. You have made your decision by marrying her, so live with it. I no longer have advice for you concerning your marriage, and neither will Pastor Turner. Pastor Aben is supposed to be your friend and failed to counsel you. I will continue to be your spiritual mom. However, there will now be boundaries. You have compromised your integrity and your relationship with God for sex and a marriage that her family knows nothing about. This was deeper than sex because you already defiled the marriage bed, and there will be consequences regardless of repentance. God used you to allow me on your platform to teach, and you rejected knowledge. Knowledge is not power until it is applied. We perish for lack of knowledge. In addition, do not ask me to minister on your platform. You are the head in your ministry and have rejected the knowledge that was given. Therefore, do not expect your people on your platform to change or do any better when you are not. Now that you are married, you have to grow up and figure things out. The Bible says that when a man finds a wife, he finds favor from the Lord. However, you have lost favor with me for a season. In addition, you have done things regarding money this past week that was dishonorable to me and God. The Winner's Chapel is corrupt and exploits people. If you continue to sit under filth, you will become it. May you do better and may God have mercy on you. God bless you, Dr. Asia Turner. When I was leaving Ghana, he was still considered to be my one spiritual son until I reached back to the U.S. and realized that during those altercations with his wife, he could have rectified those situations. Because if I was so honorable in your life and have me and my husband, we have assisted you throughout the years, you would have thought that he would have done better to maintain our relationship. And I was more than willing to do so. Just because I check someone in truth doesn't mean I don't want to have any more dealings with them. It is when people decide that they don't want to hear truth, reject truth, and don't want to change. This becomes a problem, especially when you have a title such as an apostle or pastor. My husband and I had come to the conclusion that the relationship with our one spiritual son, it needed to end. So that is why you have been hearing me say once spiritual son. And because he did nothing more to rectify the situation in order to bring about peace versus just telling us, let us all still get along because we're leaders, but do it pretty much behind his wife's back, that was not enough for us to maintain relationship with him, because there had been a disrespect across the board from the time I was in Ghana up until the time that I was leaving Ghana. So in this situation with our one spiritual son, that door is officially closed. Yep, I said it.